Welcome to the Writer Reads Short Stories. This is Stiletto's Luck, Part 2 of 4. But how to fight them? How indeed? Stiletto stared into the sky, careful not to blind himself with the sun. Demons could walk during the day, but most preferred not to. Most shunned the light and the sun's pure touch. Their aversion and vulnerability had saved him more than once. The next summons would not be to an airy room high above the city streets, and he had to visit a weaponsmith, where bellows fanned furnaces and forges, enough fire to give a demon contingent passage. Stiletto was sure the demons would know this, not because they knew his habits, but because they knew of the meeting, would be aware that one of their number had not returned, and of what Stiletto would have had to expend in order to escape. The demons would be watching him from every fire in the city if the cause was important enough. Stiletto watched the sunrise turn the rooftops from purple musk to hard-edged orange candy, watched the orange soften to lemon and fade to white and grey and tan-coloured slate. He knew he would be just another shadow on the bardic spire, was grateful to have a musical friend who asked him no questions, in spite of being curious enough about everything else. Stiletto wondered if her soul was for sale, or if he was safe. He wished for an angel, but knew the nearest was far away, and did not want to call it. Angels could be allies, but like demons, their assistance came with a price, and there were many forms of pain. No, Stiletto decided, he would not call one of those other dimensional beings if he could at all avoid it. There were alternative ways to save the city, alternatives that would let him keep his freedom and his soul uncompromised. Stiletto waited, soaking in the warmth, charging his soul with light and storing visions of the world he was risking his life and afterlife to save. Those visions would fuel him in the darkest moments when defeat seemed inevitable or the pain too much to bear. Those visions and the pure notes of bard song that had brought him to the spire and an unexpected friend so long ago. She slept with her curtains closed, like so many of her kind, used to singing to all hours and sleeping late, used to researching by the steady glow of wizard light until she found the answer or fell asleep across her parchments. Stiletto wished he could be certain she was safe, safe to be with, and safe from harm. He glanced eastwards, under the rising sun and over the rooftops, the city wall, and farmland beyond. The forest was a dark green band clothing the foothills, covering the mountain's feet in a sanctuary for elves. If he rode hard, he might make it before dusk, and if he was swift, the demons would not know he'd left. If he was lucky, the angel would stay high and far and not catch the lingering scent of demon stink on his skin. If he was lucky. The thought made Stiletto smile. He was never lucky. Not in the way most men counted luck. He'd had his share of broken weapons, inopportune words spilled when he'd needed them unheard, cats underfoot when he'd needed silence, claws in the darkness reaching through doorways that had not existed when he'd started to flee. Memory of the latter made him shudder, and his vision clouded, terror creeping through his bones. Song rose through the tower behind him, a joyous tune made for dancing. It did nothing to dislodge the terror's grip. Demons loved to dance, the merriment in their tunes a siren song to nearly every race. The hells studied both prey and rivals with frightening focus. Fighting the urge to curl up in the sun until the music passed, Stiletto made himself listen. It took him but a short time to realize this song was made for angels, and a short time longer to hear his lover's voice amidst the choir. He wondered again at the sanctity of her soul. The song told him also that he had to hurry down from the spire and through the gates, flee the city for the forest eaves before the angel came. An angel could not resist coming to a song like this. An angel would dance with mortals all morning if the music stayed as pure. Stiletto found the rope he'd hidden behind a roof slate, checked it was still fastened and that the beam would hold. When he was sure, he attached it to his harness and leapt from the spire. The rope held when it had played to its full length, and Stiletto needed it to swing him to the outer wall. The rope held, but the harness did not. In the end, he was glad the angel came. It swept out of the sky, stooping like a hawk to a rabbit, swooping down and scooping him into its arms, grimly amused by his fear. I could have let you fall, it said, wings beating as it climbed. Could still let you fall, it added dryly, if you'd rather. Thank you, Stiletto told it, wrapping its forearms close to his chest and reaching out to call up a vision of the morning light on farmland and rooftops, of a bard waking in protest to the sun on her face. The angel laughed. I did not think you were ready to die when such a battle lies ahead. I need to reach the elves, Stiletto said, his hopes of spending the next night in wooded sanctuary fading. The angel descended, through a window into the bardic hall. At its entrance the music paused, and then the choir continued, singing even more beautifully than before, serenading their guest. First we will dance, the angel said. You are not my preferred partner, but others will join us shortly, and we'll both be satisfied. Odd words for an angel, Stiletto noted as the creature set him on its feet and took his hand. You do not know us very well, it replied, half turning in a well-known step. Stiletto mirrored the movement, feeling joy within the music. How can you be so sure this is no trap? He asked, admiring the clear-cut panes of the angel's face, finding him handsome, desirable, even though he was a man and not Stiletto's usual choice of partner. The music was written for angels, the creature replied, amusement in its eyes. Exactly, Stiletto said, matching the beat with a neat skip and hop, touching palm to palm briefly and then sidling past. The demons knew their music, were masters at baiting their prey. Stiletto hoped his bardic love would warn him if things were about to go so badly wrong. He hoped he was not part of the reward offered to those who wanted to play. The angel was right. Others did join them, dancing down from their coral posts to continue their song to the beat of their steps. The angel laughed. Stiletto watched the shadows and hoped it would be over soon. He wanted to bathe in strong flowing water, using the bubbled fronds of sun soap to cleanse his skin. He wanted to breathe air not tainted by a demon's death. More, he wanted to be free of the stench that marked him as having had a hand in killing one from the hells. Why hadn't the angel complained? They came together again as part of the dance. The angel looked down at him, and Stiletto wondered that he had not noticed its height before. You owe me much, little man, it said, taking his hands in its broad, warm palms, stepping into him and then sidestepping so they faced the coral dais, one hand in the other. The demon's scent grew stronger as they turned again to face each other, and Stiletto bent forward, running a hand over his stomach as though in pain. He slid his namesake from the rigid leather sheath strapped along his ribs beneath his left arm. I don't owe you that much, he said, praying he hadn't guessed wrong as the dance drew them together and he straightened, driving the blade forward and up into the demon's heart. Dropping his hands to his hips, he drew two shorter daggers. Sheldark, he whispered, depressing the catches on the end of their hilts and driving them simultaneously into either side of the demon's chest. Morthekna, he cried, taking the last orb from his belt and smashing it against the demon's forehead as it fell. Green flame enveloped the demon as its angelic disguise began to tear. Too late for any but the closest to see what it really was he'd struck. Chugrush! Stiletto growled and watched the magic flare, turning the body within to dust and sending it back to the dimension from whence it had come. Elven magic had a special antipathy for anything from the hells, whether it masqueraded as an angel or no. That just left the members of the choir, and judging from the sudden silence, they'd just noticed what he'd done. And they weren't happy. Stiletto slid under two hastily drawn blades and used the polished marble to take him into a gap between the gathering choir members. It was enough for those closest to where the angel had stood to lose track of him. He wasted no time. Bards carried light weapons, easily drawn and used. Some of those weapons could be thrown. Stiletto saw no reason they wouldn't use them in the sanctity of their own halls. Not after what they thought he'd done. Seeing the way to the outside was blocked, he tumbled instead toward an open door leading further into the college itself. As familiar as he was with these hallowed halls, this was not one of the routes he had travelled before. It led around the edge of the dais and rapidly narrowed. Yep. Hearing a shout, Stiletto leapt through the door and swung it hastily closed behind him, heard the thump of the door meeting the lintel and a rapid patter of lighter thunks as darts and crossbow bolts buried themselves in the barrier he'd placed in their way. For a group of people who'd been producing some of the most beautiful music he had yet heard, the choir members were rapidly switching to deadly. Stiletto wondered how long their anger would dim their senses, how long it would take for them to register the demon stink mingled with the clove and orange scent of elven magic. Cloves and oranges? Stiletto frowned. He'd been expecting lime, rosemary, and the sharp, fresh scent of deep wood perfume. What could cloves and oranges mean? Stiletto darted down the corridor on soft-soled boots, looking swiftly through part-open doorways and turning the building's geography over in his head. The only trouble was he could not fit all the corridor into what he knew of the dimensions outside. He passed dressing rooms, bathing rooms, privies, and tailors' quarters bedecked with shining crystals instead of windows for good natural sunlight, but nothing with an exit. There was no demon stench, no sweet incense of angel. Behind him, Stiletto heard the door open and turned into the nearest entry. By the gods, he hoped the room beyond was empty. "Ah, there you are," an elderly voice stated firmly as the door whisked shut behind him before he could think of closing it. Stiletto looked up and felt his heart jolt uncomfortably. The tall, strongly built woman at the end of the room spared him a quick grandmotherly smile and turned to her class. "Now, children, this is an assassin." Her words drew a gasp from 20 mouths, and 20 sets of eyes turned to take him in. If they had not all been children, Stiletto might have sworn. As it was, the elderly woman taking the class gave none of them time to speak.